Okay, we're all here.
Oh my God.
This is Alex
This
and
is the problem with
Will.
us doing this at night because we're both slap happy and goofy and all over the damn place.
It took us a while to get here, but we're
Yeah.
here. HR and tomfoolery. You
And
know,
other tomfoolery.
oh, I want it to be HR tomfoolery. They're not separate. They're the same. People
Because
come to
HR
me.
should be tomfoolery. That's the subliminal messaging we're trying to share. HR should not be taken too seriously. Everyone calls us the police, and we should not be the police. We should be the cool HR, the fun HR, right? Like we
Which we are.
suggest that you don't do something stupid like drive drunk, but if you went out drinking, call us and we'll pick you up. Like that's HR.
We're the
That's what it should,
trusting parent, yes,
right.
that wants to help.
Yes, we want to help and we want to have an open dialogue and an honest relationship. That's what we want to do. That's the HR that we want to be.
People tell me that they're going to report me to HR, to which I tell them I am HR. So,
But you're the problem in organizations. And HR is
uh,
the problem. That's what we should do. We should have an episode about that when HR is the problem. Oh my God. Well, we kind of touched on that in our other episode about the sexual harassment claim where
yep,
HR was the problem. That was
yeah,
a whole mess, but
yeah.
I
No, that
digress.
does happen often actually, because HR can be spread thin a lot, right? And so
Yes.
sometimes they don't have the capacity to solve some of the people problems because their job is primarily focused on protecting the company, which
Yeah.
is also needed,
Yes.
but you need
Um,
a third party voice to advocate for you.
yeah. Yeah, because we truly try to straddle that line, right? Of like the company and the people. But because when you protect the people, you're ultimately protecting the company too. Anyway, I just want to paint the scene here. Okay. Like every Monday night when we record this, I'm starting to notice a theme, right? My hair is like piled up on top of my head because it's late at night and I've been chasing children around. Um, I am never have any makeup on. I'm covered in food right now from my baby. And Will is like, I'm usually eating at some point in time, but that's status quo for me, and a meeting. And then Will is always showing up like, I have a shirt and I'm ready to change into it and look like a professional human being. And that is the difference between Will and I because Will prepares and I show up in all my chaotic glory.
hmm Yeah, we make a good team.
This is
I'm the
us.
organizer, the planner, keeping things together. You're the crazy idea person.
Crazy is accurate. Um, yeah, we have a lot of fun.
Yep.
That's what these are about, right? Talk about real topics that affect people and have fun doing it. So, um, shall we dive in? What do you have for me today?
Well, I think there's always the question that we get from our clients and from business owners in general of like how to keep their employees engaged, right? And they might not ask that question explicitly. It's always something,
Mm-hmm.
but that's always like the end, what they're really trying to get at. People want productivity, people want people to be happy, to be in a good mood, to be approachable, to communicate well, to
Yeah.
do their job, to want to grow, to align with the company goals, like all of that equals employee engagement. And a lot of times it can be kind of an intangible thing, that people are chasing and might not have the right tools for. But I know that we were helping one of our clients with their benefits this week, and
Mm,
it's one small tool that you can use for engagement,
yeah.
because your benefits have to be customized. Right. And I think that the reason why they were customizing them is because they felt like the benefits they had weren't necessarily being utilized.
Yep.
I think that's a common complaint with business owners. Like they invest all this time and money in their benefits and they spend a ton of money each month, and it doesn't necessarily even like resonate or land with the employees.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why customizing it is so important, right? And that can be an engagement tool.
Yeah. How do we make benefits sexy? That's a fun conversation.
Your word. Those are
Huh?
your words.
Those are my words.
I didn't say it. Don't report
Sexy.
me. 18 and up. Yeah.
Uh, well, like something you touched on was, when they come to us about engagement, they don't typically, it doesn't take the form of engagement, right? And one of the things that I hear often is like, how do we get people to appreciate all that we're doing for them more? And that comes up a lot, especially in tandem with benefits offerings, right? It's like, oh, we're investing all these things in benefits and all these things in, like here and there and our people, and how do we get them to appreciate it more? And that is usually a twofold um, response. One, how are you advertising everything that you're doing and making it known to people? Because, like, communication is a big piece of that, right? And two, are you designing them in a way where they matter to people? Like where they actually are having a greater impact because it hits people where it matters most. So if I break that down in the example you provided of our client, right? Customizing benefits, it's definitely a lot easier when you're a smaller organization, like small to mid-sized organizations. It's going to be easier. Obviously, if you're a big corporation, like, you know, that becomes a little more challenging. It's not impossible, but it's just more challenging, more administration. But small to mid-sized companies, and the beauty is that like they're adaptable and flexible and malleable, and that provides flexibility in how you tailor things to your people. So, one of the things that we've done is sit down and brainstorm like a bunch of ideas of almost like a catalog of options, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're offering something that you're investing thousands and thousands of dollars into, um, it's kind of like a love language, right? So let's take that, great, because we always compare things to, this is my ADHD going on hyperdrive right now. I'm weaving like 50 threads and I swear they're all going to come back.
We'll bring it
It
back at the
makes
end.
sense.
Stay with
Yeah,
us.
it will make sense. Um, Love languages. We always talk about, hiring in terms of dating and like correlate to things that everyone can understand. So let's go down this rabbit hole for a second. Um, what's your love language?
Let's see. Coffee, gifts of coffee.
Samesies. Yeah.
I would say physical touch and words of affirmation, quality time.
Yeah. So have you ever had a partner that had like opposite ones from you?
Yeah, yes,
And so it's not that you didn't notice what they were doing for you, but it did have as big of an impact.
right. Did
You
not.
still felt like you're missing something if they weren't delivering your love language in the way that you need it, right? And
Yes.
it's the same here. Like I was with someone for a long time where their pretty much only love language was acts of service, and that's my bottom. Like mine is quality time and physical touch. So, and like holding my hand was like, a huge hurdle that had to be overcome. And that felt horrible. But they're like, but I do the dishes. I'm like, I don't give a shit about the dishes. Like, just hold my hand or sit next to me on the couch. Like, you know, like I appreciate it, but it didn't make me feel loved. And so it's the same in an organization, right? We can also talk about like what if we want to go down the other rabbit hole of, benefits, making benefits sexy. Like what you find sexy in someone is going to be different than what I find sexy in someone. So it's the same concept. Yeah, for whatever reason, we have a hard time crossing conceptually between like personal and corporate life. And so if you are offering a bunch of benefits that that person does not like connect with, or it's not what they need in that moment, you're not going to get very far. It's not that they're not appreciative or it's not a great benefit, but if you're offering, a gym membership and what they really need is help paying astronomical childcare expenses, you're going to get a lot further helping them with their childcare expenses than the gym membership that they don't have time to go to, right? So, I mean, I would punt it back to you. Like, what are some cool benefits that you've heard of or seen of that are unique that you liked?
Yeah. Well, I think on the note of like childcare, I think a cool benefit that I've seen is like planning dates for,
Mm,
like an employee and their significant other or spouse, where like the child care is taken care of and the date is planned. Because a lot of times, like I think a lot of couples can relate to like not having the time to even think or plan things out. And so like having someone do that for you then gives you like that kind of break and that balance that you need. And that, in turn, like, if your employees are happy, they're more engaged, right? And if they have strong
yeah.
relationships, when thinking of recruiting, like I always wish in some like, vacuum world, like some fantasy land, I always wish I could meet people's spouses. Like if I was interviewing someone, it's like I kind of want to like come to your house and like meet your spouse and like understand your lifestyle, as part of the interview. And obviously that's crazy. We can't do that after what happened last time, but 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 what I mean is like when you're in a marriage, that partnership is so important for how you do in your career. And
Yeah, it
if you're
is.
supported in the right ways, and if you and your partner have the same goals and have the same behaviors behind how to reach those goals, that's extremely important for, your productivity and your engagement at work. And then, conversely, like I think everyone can say like when people are going through a divorce at work, like their work does suffer. Like a divorce puts you in a funk for, 1 to 3 to 5 to however many years.
Yeah, of
And,
course.
your work is definitely impacted, right? So like that partnership at home is so important. So that benefit that I've seen of like planning a date and having childcare taken care of so that a busy professional can just like pick up and go and do that is like very valuable to a large group of people from what I've seen.
Yeah.
And I've also seen like the wellness benefits. I think
Yeah.
those are huge too.
The
Um,
wellness benefits are
and the
huge.
wellness benefits done right. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like a lot of people just like throw money at wellness because it's so new, right? It's kind of trendy. And so they throw money at it and honestly, like a lot of the money is put in the wrong place,
Yeah.
right? Where it needs those wellness benefits again need to be customized for like what relates to your not only your staff, but also your culture for your company. Like what wellness
Right.
benefits actually relate to who we are as an image so that we're resonating with our employees, but we're also resonating with, the recruiting factor.
Right. Platform that gives people access to what they specifically need, versus just a blanket approach. Yeah, I was gonna say like it's the access to like more creative and customized benefits, but also the execution is super important. So when you were talking about that, I was thinking of a former colleague of mine works for a tech company now that has a product called Strong Suit, and it was built for and with working women in mind because of the mental load and even just like the load of carrying on everything outside of the home as well as um, working. And I know that like you tend to take that role in your home, so more than some men you probably understand that component, but um, it's basically like almost like a concierge personal assistant service that takes a lot of that off of the person's plate, and is offered as a benefit, right? And so where I'm going with that is you have companies like, maybe I won't name the company. You have big companies that offer benefits. One I know in mind, for example, is called Caraloop, and the idea is there, right? It's similar. It's like concierge to help you figure things out in transitions. If you need childcare, if you need care for an aging parent, blah blah blah. But when I was looking for childcare, I was in between childcare, and I leveraged it. What it did was save me a good Google search, right? Like it maybe saved me an hour of time of pulling together resources off of Google. But then I had to follow up and like call all of them and vet them and coordinate and like, so it really did not take that much off my plate.
Yeah.
And so that's a benefit offered at a huge company locally, like across everyone. It's like, great. But this strong suit that I'm talking about, like they would actually handle all that. Like they would call them, they would vet the resources, they would interview, like, and those are the pieces that follow through is like where you really need the help. So, one does not equal the other. So when we're talking about benefits, you want to make sure that you provide either access to vetted benefits that you know are going to be really impactful, and then follow up, 6 months, 1 year later. Hey, how has this impacted your life? How is it taking things off your plate? Um, how is it working for you? And make sure that it's actually working well. Um, or, right, like allow more freedom of customization. Like, hey, we're going to give you a stipend each month and you use it on, XYZ that works for you. Um, and that's especially with smaller companies, like that's where I tend to sit is, hey, can we put money towards, you know, these kind of core buckets and let people use them how they wish. If they want to help pay towards daycare, if they want to help pay towards a date night babysitter, if they want to help pay towards their home office, or, like taking dancing lessons because it checks off both the mental, emotional, physical wellness bucket and the exercise bucket and the healthy relationship bucket, right? Like whatever that is could be unique to the person. And so the less you try to um, formalize it, I guess, the better, because then you're allowing people to kind of take the legwork off of the organization and customize it for themselves.
Yep.
The challenge then becomes, right, the tax benefits. You might not get as many if you're giving more of like a stipend versus like having something that you can write off in a particular category.
Yep. Yeah, and there's definitely ways to categorize the stipends or break the stipends into different categories or amounts. That helps with tax benefits, but that's something to talk to your accountant about. But yeah, I think with the stipend, like I think that that's probably the most impactful benefit to an employee. But from the perspective of an employer who is thinking about the money invested and how does that translate to retention and how does that translate to culture and engagement, like I often worry that like a stipend is kind of like giving somebody a gift card, right? Like it
Mm.
might be what they want, but it's not as impactful from the sense of like an engagement standpoint. What do you think? Like, do you see that, or is that just something that I think of in my head, you know?
I think that's a fair thing to ask, but that's not what I've seen in reality. Um, I think it's more about giving people the power of making a conscious choice, right? Hey, we're giving you this money each month to put towards something in this realm, right? Like, hey, we want you to have X amount that you can use from this broad category of ideas, or like we're going to put money in this account each month to put towards healthcare or education expenses, and this account each month to put towards your cell phone or home office, right? Like I think it's all just how you market it and communicate it so that people feel like they're making an intentional choice. Um, it's kind of like when you take something out of a paycheck every month, it becomes automatic. You're not really paying attention. So, same as like you wouldn't add it in a paycheck every month because again, it becomes automatic and you're not really paying attention. I think it's more just like bringing attention to, hey, my company is giving me this amount every month and I'm choosing to use it on this particular thing or these top three things. And if there's probably ways you can design it, where you're asking people to come back and share, like, hey, how did you use your, say wellness stipend this month? Like snap a photo and, or who has the most creative way that they've used a wellness stipend this month and how has it worked for you? Right? Like getting people to engage in talking about and sharing how it's benefiting them, how they're using it, why it's impactful. All of that is like an internal communication strategy, right? That's all
Yeah.
part of marketing and communication and like keeping things top of mind for people so they realize what you're doing for them.
Yep.
It's kind of like the this is the power of communication in general, right? Like let's say that you are with your partner and you're not someone that's good at keeping up with the laundry. I may be speaking for a friend. That friend may be me. And when the laundry magically gets done and put back in your drawer, you don't appreciate it as much because it's just kind of happening. You're not really noticing it, right? There's so many other things happening that you're keeping track of and going on your day about, right? Like that you're not, it's just taken care of for you. However, if your partner makes a point to say, like, hey, I took care of the laundry and I went ahead and put it back in your drawer. And then every week, hey, I took care of the laundry and I went ahead and put it back in your drawer. Right? Like you're not being an asshole for like calling it out because you're not like, hey, I took care of the laundry again, right? But if you're like genuinely just trying to bring awareness to like, hey, I took care of this for you. I just want you to know. So you're not, where that person's much more likely to recognize that you're doing it for them and then therefore be grateful that they have a partner that's taking that off of their plate with no argument with no like complaining. It's just hey, this is how I'm taking care of you this week, right? Like I went ahead and I put gas in your car, right? Yes, you can suffer in silence and be the quiet, silent type that just does it behind the scenes, and that's great. But like I guarantee you, most people will not appreciate it as much as just mentioning that you took care of it for them, right? Because it's just the way our brain works. Like we have to call attention to something to truly like recognize and appreciate it.
Yeah.
So,
No, I think that's really good about like creating a conversation around it. I think that that's an excellent solution for what I was talking about with like when I receive a gift, like if my mom had given me a mug or something, like every time I use that mug, I think of her, right? Whereas if she gave me a gift card to get gas or, or out to a restaurant, like that's like a one-time use and then I don't even think about it. You know what I mean? So it's like in terms of engagement, I think your solution is actually really, really valid.
well, thank you.
I didn't even know that you had that.
I
I'm
didn't know I had
I'm,
that
I'm
either.
learning on this podcast.
Just kidding. Yes, yeah. I think there's a lot of creative ways to do it, right? And that's where you have a value of like finding a um, professional partner or like someone internally that is creative and can think out of the box and knows, how to cultivate engagement.
Yeah.
And it's much more than just what you offer. It's how you offer it, how you communicate it, how you tie it back. All of that is um, it's creating a story, right? And stories are powerful. The story we tell ourselves, the story we tell each other, it's all very, very powerful. So,
Yeah, that's excellent. No, and I think that it's really important for everybody to assess, whether you're a small business or a larger business, to really think about like where are your benefits and who are using them, right? And you can think through that, logistically, but you can also just ask. You can ask your employees, you
100%.
can check in, you can understand what conversations are happening at the water cooler. Just having a pulse on that is extremely important, if you don't want to be wasting money. And aside from wasting money, also like wasting the opportunity to engage your employees and have your workplace be the vision that you have for it, and people are excited and, understanding of the things that you are offering.
Yeah. And I mean, anytime you can provide, like, you know, you can survey your people and get their ideas, you can also provide things back. Like, would you like this? Would you like that? Rate on a scale, right? Because sometimes they don't always think of everything. So some creative stuff we've done before is, like we said, childcare stipend, loan repayment stipend, volunteer hours don't cost you anything, right? We've done uh, a gym membership, an office stipend, like team outings. Hey, let's put money towards like team building each month, um, and making sure that that's something that we're cultivating. Um, I was part of a company that did a dream manager program. And so, like, people that were top performers would get nominated and chosen each month to have like some dream come true,
Hmm.
right? It could be small, like someone rode an elephant. For me, it was salsa dancing in
Whoa,
Mexico City and spending a week with the team there, like because I got awarded. And I'll never forget that, right?
that's
It
cool.
changed my life. So, um, like there's a lot of different, oh God, there's probably so many more that I'm not thinking of because it's,
That was a good one though.
10
The
o'clock.
dream one.
The Dream Manager. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
a
one's
great one.
pretty.
That came from a book of local janitorial services, actually,
Yeah.
that started that program because here's the power of storytelling, right? Like they could not keep janitorial staff because of the nature of um, the work, and it was very low engagement. And so they started this Dream Manager program, and the impact it had on people, and again, just like doing something custom to them that mattered to them and their unique desires and needs and goals, the retention shot through the roof.
Hmm.
And so, like, and there's a book called it. It's called The Dream Manager, and um, it just goes to show that when you take the time to get to know your people and customize your approach and pour into what matters to them, um, it it's a resounding impact. It's like much greater than anything you could do across the board as like a generic approach. So just again ties back to like how much can you customize or allow people to customize um, what matters to them and how you support them in achieving that. We had someone that wanted to go to Machu Picchu for 3 weeks, and they were like, I'm really kind of scared to ask, because you just hired me, and I kind of wanted to, plan this trip because it's a bucket list item and it's like a big goal for me, but I understand if I can't take the time. And we're like, take the time, like do it. You want to climb Machu Picchu? Like that's freaking amazing. Like go do it. That is something that like if we can be part of your story and like granting you the time and the space to go do something like that for your life, and you're always going to remember that we supported you in that, fantastic. Like what's 3 weeks in terms of like a lifetime of stories and memories built around this adventure you're going to have, and being able to say like my work supported me in achieving that, you know yeah, we'll figure it out. So yeah, it matters to people. It goes a long
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yep. Well, anything you want to add on this evening, 1 week before Christmas, as we
I know.
wind down?
Yeah, it truly feels like, the professional world has slowed down and shut down, you know?
Hmm.
So, I mean, obviously, like people are still working, things are still happening, but that's, from a cultural standpoint, like that's something that is kind of embedded. People kind of start to shut down the last few weeks. I was at a coffee shop today and I overheard it was like a group of salesmen for like a paint company or something.
Yeah.
And they were all kind of like making excuses for slowing down, which is fine. Or at least that's what I heard. I don't want to say excuses in like a negative way, but like they were trying to justify it when it's like really like we can all just say it. Like we can all just say that like the last few weeks of the year, it's culturally acceptable to kind of wind down and take that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, they
Yeah,
all
is
have
this
excuses as to why they were like slowing down or why they couldn't do things and how, oh, I'm going to take this day off because, my clients aren't in the office anyways. And, it's like,
isn't that so weird? That's like
yeah,
purely American culture. That's so weird because we're so hard driving the rest of the year. And then you look at cultures like Europe where it's so normalized to like take an afternoon off and to, take 1 year maternity paternity leave with a baby and like, like everything is just much more balanced. And like it comes to, the 2 weeks of the year that a large portion of the country celebrates Christmas. And if they don't celebrate Christmas, like also totally fine. There's a lot of people that don't, but they tend to, take advantage of the time because it is where a lot of people slow down or shut down. And why we need to feel weird about that, I don't know. But yeah, it's like we need excuses to take a pause. That's a soapbox for another day. But
yeah, but I love it. I love that we do it. I love that
yeah,
it's socially acceptable. And yeah, it's that
great.
time. So,
Well, this was HR and other tomfoolery, not just HR tomfoolery. I mean, it's still a work in progress. So we're still workshopping it. So maybe we'll change it.
yep, still working on a sign off, but
Working on the sign off, but
until next
I would say
time.
where business meets pleasure with a dash of mischief. All right.
Everybody,
Well, thanks everyone if you're listening, and have a wonderful holiday.
bye bye. Goodbye.